Well, the OWGR made news this week by issuing a statement about inclusion, or the lack thereof, for the LIV Golf League. In this week's Another Round with Foltzy, their statement has our own Jerry Foltz wondering, when it comes to the OWGR, what's the point?
I think a lot of people are wondering what's the point when the players from all over the various tours, top-ranked players in the world according to their ranking, call it laughable. You can certainly understand the need for maybe changing the name to obsolete World Golf Rankings. One sports writer recommended earlier this week that it should be called the FedEx Cup Rankings, because that's essentially what it comes down to. If you want to know the reasons for those decisions that basically make the OWGR not live up to their own very charter of fairly and accurately ranking players who play professional golf for a living around the world, well, you can look to Phil Mickelson's Twitter feed from earlier in the week. There are things that happen behind the scenes that are strictly of political nature, but in my opinion, they did LIV Golf a huge favor, because they have now cleared the pathway for the majors to develop their own mechanisms by which golfers, the greatest golfers in the world, can compete in their majors, because that is what their legacy, that is what their history, that is what they are all about, and that's what they do. Let's talk about facts here, David.
Yeah.
53% of the OWGR points this year have been awarded to PGA Tour events and majors. Next in line, all the way down at 15%, is a DP World Tour, 10% Korn Ferry, 4.5% Challenge Tour. This time last year, 15 players outside of the PGA Tour were in the top 50 of the OWGR. Right now, as we sit this year, there are only 2, and both of those are LIV players who won a major within the last 16 months. The only way to break into the top 50 on the OWGR, and thus the way to get into majors as it currently stands, is to be a PGA Tour member. They are truly just PGA Tour rankings. It's mathematically possible for somebody who's not a PGA Tour member to somehow break into that top 50, but it is 100% PGA Tour centric. And when you look at some of the reasons OWGR stated as to why they denied LIV Golf's petition, David, it just simply can't be that tough to figure out a system.
Yeah, well, you would think so. And there's really only one, big loser, I think, Jerry, in the whole thing, and that's the golf fan. And the most important fans that we have are sponsors. They want, the biggest names in their tournaments. And there are people, above my pay grade. Oh, no, wait, they're not. That should be able to do this math. We put a man on the moon in 1969. There was a lot of complicated math there.
There's a lot of systems out there that can do the math. There's 3 that are well published: Data Golf, SI, and also my favorite, TUGR Golf. They've managed to figure out systems that fairly and accurately, in my opinion, rank golfers throughout the world. TUGR is my favorite because there's zero subjectivity to it. There's no weighting for strength of field. There's no arbitrary divisor as well. Daniel Rappaport, he's made quite a name for himself as a golf person, I guess. He said it's silly in his opinion. The tour shouldn't have to adapt to the rankings. They should be able to figure out how to adapt to them.
Yeah, we're talking about people that refuse to adapt to the changing face of a sport. That's really, and it's not about us. It's about golf in general.
No, it sounds like sour grapes coming from somebody who works for LIV Golf and is a huge proponent of LIV Golf, as I am. But the fact is, like I started when I opened that, when you have currently ranked players in the world calling their own system laughable, I think that kind of opens your eyes to how obsolete, how insignificant those rankings truly are. And you talk about sponsors. Those sponsors that actually endorse the players, that sponsor the players, that endorse them, they're the first ones that have started rolling back on those player endorsement contracts in terms of the bonus money and importance of OWGR in that bonus money.
Yeah.
A lot of it now is to do with worldwide wins and major championships. And when you see the economics turn that quickly in a year and a half, something's really askew.
One of the phrases used against LIV Golf's application is closed shop, even though we know that the pathway into LIV Golf through the international series and the promotion and relegation events is there, and it will happen in December. But is what you're describing becoming a closed shop?
Well, I mean,
the status quo.
The reasons stated for denying the application are hold no water with me and a lot of fans, actually, certainly with me, but I've read from so many that they don't, because the PGA Tour now has these elevated or signature events. They're a limited field with no cut, which sounds really familiar to me, and the only way to get into it's from your ranking either on the PGA Tour or World Golf Rankings, to which you have to be on the PGA Tour to legitimately get points.
You know, and they say, well, you know, it's 3 rounds. How do you do it? Well, the Open Championship used to be 2 rounds.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, these guys, they didn't forget how to play golf because they joined a tour that plays a shotgun start and 3 rounds instead of 4. It's simply, the LIV golfer statistically, by any objective statistical measure, no matter how biased you want to make stats work your way, they overachieved in all 4 majors this year. From a win standpoint, from a top 25, a top 10 standpoint, made cut standpoint, given the number of entries, percentage of entries that they comprise. These guys are great players. Saying they're not, or denying them the right to be ranked as such, is simply unjust, no matter what the given reason. It is political, and as Phil Mickelson alluded to in his tweets, follow the money.